Hello everybody and welcome to my new RuneScape Classic series. So as you can see, I'm actually in front of the GE, so you might be having questions, what do you mean RuneScape Classic series? So basically, I've decided to start a RuneScape Classic content only series in old school RuneScape. What this means is I'll only be using items, quests, and locations that were in RSC that existed in that game. Anything else I will not be using or interacting with. So there are a bit of rules that come with this, and here they are on the screen now. So it's pretty simple. I'm just going to be using things that are only in the original game in RSC. I will not be auto-casting because that is kind of overpowered for RSC standards. I will be casting manually. There's some interesting things with this, like I will be using the generic old school client, the normal one. I will be using some interfaces of that. So like, for example, sound effects, music, running, I will be using running. Some might think that's a little, that's not really RuneScape Classic enough, but I set my own rules because this is how I want to enjoy the game. So with this new series, there are going to be some pretty interesting challenges. First off, no buying armor and weapons from shops. Anything else is fair game, including runes. So this is going to be interesting because it means the only way I can get new armor upgrades is through smithing, or if I get it as a drop from a monster. So should lead to some interesting armor combinations. Actually, I'm saying this way in the future, and right now in the game I have a pretty crazy assortment of things, so it's pretty interesting. The other thing is, there is no paralyzed monster in OSRS, and Protect from Monster doesn't exist in RSC, or didn't exist, and so I won't actually have any Protect prayers to use. I will be using Steel Defense Prayer because that's pretty much the best thing I'm going to get. That should make some quest bosses pretty interesting. We'll see how that goes out. Might take a lot more training before I can do Legends, for example. The last thing I want to say before we get into this is that when I started recording, I was in resizable mode in OSRS, and I didn't learn until a few weeks later that doing fixed mode is a lot better for streams and recordings on YouTube. So the first chapter, maybe the second, I'm not sure yet, might be in resizable mode, but after that, the rest of the series will be in fixed. With that said, let's get started. So what you're seeing right now is me in the GE right after I logged into my account. So I had some stuff in my bank that friends had given me, and I don't want this to be to help me in any way. I want it to be like a really self-sufficient sort of, so I just decided to drop all my stuff to give it to other players, and that include like a full rune set, some myth, some steel, and some assorted holiday items that don't exist in RSC, except the scythe, which I get to keep, which I was really happy about. So the first thing I decided to do was head to the rock mine to get some copper and tin to make some bronze armor. There's my first smithing level. I decided to go ahead and go right to rock to make some of these into my first weapons. This is always the fun part for me, just making the actual equipment. Dang, that bronze med helm looks pretty beast. I decided to go ahead and start and complete Doric's quest. Made my first bronze scimitar, which was pretty epic, and my first bronze full helm. It was kind of difficult to decide whether to make like bronze knives or bronze arrowheads, because bronze knives seems like it might be better because then you don't have to worry about like fletching them. You can just start ranging automatically, but then with the arrowheads you get the fletching experience, so I decided to do a little bit of each. But yeah, my first set of armor was a full helm, a square shield, and a scimitar. Decided to go roaming a bit and get my first cape. Of course, it's not complete until we recolor that guy, so let's go ahead and head to Aggie, who is going to make us a few potions, which we can turn into a purple potion and apply it to our cape to make it a beautiful purple cape. So it said head to combat. I've got the essentials, and so time to get some attack and strength levels. For a while I was just using lunge because I figured if I can get my attack, strength, and defense all around the same XP and level, then I could probably get equal XP and then get 3 levels at the same time, but later I just abandoned that. Also, the scene you're seeing right now with me fighting the baby cow calf, that did not happen. After all that combat, I decided to head to Draenor to get some of those fishing levels. 15 fishing. This should make everything else until 20 go super fast. And that is 20 fishing. We are done with the Draenhard fishing scene. Oh man, that was my first clue scroll and I was like, wait, nope, that doesn't exist in my world, unfortunately. So I need to train my magic, but I didn't have any runes to do so. So I thought maybe I should just go ahead and train on black wizards. They didn't drop much of anything, honestly, which is too bad, but it was fun just training ranged on them. Eventually I gave up on that and I just headed to Varrock to maybe buy some from another player, buy some mind runes, some air runes maybe, and I put it in the chat and someone tried to give me like 5,000 for free or something. I was like, well, I don't know if I can take that because I'm trying to be like self-sufficient, and so I actually like declined it. And I was like, sorry, can I just buy them? And he's like, no, take, or something. We traded again, and he just tried to give me 5,000 for free, and I was like, no. And so instead of actually selling them to me, he just like walked away. But I did find someone that was able to sell me 500, thankfully. So I set off to train some mage. Wasn't exactly sure where to go, but I decided to start with chickens, and then I moved on to men in Edgeville to get some herb drops. So next I decided to start the Knight's Sword quest. Really wanted to get those 31 smithing levels, I guess. Or get to 31 smithing, I guess, in my case, because I was already at like 10 or something. We'll finish that in the second chapter, but yeah, that was pretty easy actually, despite having pretty trash armor, just because my defense level was so high. Literally like walking around in RuneScape with 30 stats, like 30 flats, 30 attack, 30 strength, 30 defense, but in bronze armor was just like so weird. Surprisingly, I didn't get like any comments. Then I went ahead and made my first 2H, bronze 2H, which was pretty epic. I decided to go ahead and test it on some of the NPCs in the area. It was pretty decent. I thought I had like 20-30 attack or something like that, so I thought I'd hit better, but I guess I didn't, just because it's such a crappy weapon. But it was pretty epic just to have my first 2H, I'll say that. And here I am with my first completed set of bronze armor, and I have to say, it looks pretty nice. Well, that's all for this chapter, but I hope you stay tuned for the next one. We're gonna go for the Knight's Sword, and a bunch of other stuff is gonna happen, so I'll see you then. Until next time.